I'm working on a wax that is a potential seed shape. It'll be cast into bronze. I say potential because sometimes they don't all get cast. We edit and take a look at what we're making and have it work not only each single piece, but the group of pieces as a whole have to work together almost like a community. I'm cleaning what was a pitch apple seed. As I've walked the beaches in South Florida for over half a century, I've picked up dozens and dozens of extraordinary shapes of tropical seeds and found out in the last 10 years that some of them come from as far away as the Amazon. Here in New York, Carlos Rodriguez, who's also a tropical soul, he's from Puerto Rico, so he knows a lot of these seeds. And he's been the one who's done the majority of work on these waxes. And then the foundry does the pour. They pick up the pieces probably every 2 weeks. They pour them in bronze and they clean them and they get them ready to be shipped to Broward County.
Once the bronze is dry and it's solid, they have to proceed to cut all the branches, because all these branches are going to be cast in bronze too. They have to cut them up, separate all of the pieces that are going to be installed on the floor, and they have to clean them, make sure that non-residue of the shell is in the pieces. It has to be sanded, flattened, inspected very carefully so that everything is well casted just as.
I can't turn one. I have to go.
We're installing terrazzo. It has to be all poured in one day because we're going from blue of the sky to green of the water. They're going to merge. Everything has to stay wet. And now it looks like an estuary where brackish water comes as salt and fresh, the way it meets in such a nice natural way. It's very exciting. We're sprinkling mother of pearl into the blue and scattering shells into the green, So the trade winds are articulated with white as ice moments and bright as the moon might illuminate them, and the shells are organic and gray and white also. It's a flow. It's very improvisational because it's drying so fast today. It's 94 degrees outside. Terrazzo sets up quickly in the heat, and there's a crew who's never worked with this before. So everybody has to move together like an anthill, and that's exciting, and it's a wonderful way to work and communicate, and we're all having a very good time as well as working hard. The forces of nature are all around me here. I look out the window and the movements of the clouds remind me that they're being played with by all the trade winds that come across the Atlantic and hit Miami and go across the peninsula of South Florida and then are stopped at the Gulf of Mexico. So being a small landmass, not a continent, this state is so both vulnerable to and appreciative of the forces of nature. Spending time in Miami Beach and looking at the natural wonders has been a lifelong occupation for me. I was born a few blocks from here, walking distance, and we spent every day at the beach. This was in the era before television, and people just went outside. And at night, they looked at the stars, and they went to the beach in the afternoon, and we sat under trees and we read. And the world was so different. It was much slower. So I was fortunate in that I could take things in. I could really absorb the life processes around me.
Just knowing the coastline so well of South Florida, as I've walked it so many years, I have seen the forces of nature. I've seen the trade winds, I've seen the clouds move so quickly, I've seen the shapes they bring in and the motion, weather patterns, weather changing, and the same with the ocean currents, and I've been aware of these two great forces. So this work of art gives me the opportunity to let those two great forces merge and interact. Nature was not something outside of myself. Nature was always around me. When I grew up in South Florida in the late 40s, early 50s, there was not even air conditioning. So the windows were open, you could hear the rain start. The Everglades used to burn, so you could smell the fire. Even though we were 40 miles away, you could see the smoke. You just had a great sense of the forces of nature. And most of the homes were not very large. There were no big apartment buildings, and I always had a house. And I could hear the rain on the roof when I slept, or when it poured, you could really hear rain. So all of what we call nature, all of life was around me and palpable, and I took it in, and I've never let go of it.